On an all-new Rutherford Rants Wrestling, Burger's in the house, and we're going to talk about the WWE.
What's up the real?
All right, well, welcome to another edition of Rutherford Rants Wrestling, and this time I'm not alone. I have Burger with me. Burger's in the house.
Hey.
Burger's in the house.
It's about time.
Yeah, you know, the last few episodes I've actually just recorded on my phone, and then sent it into Tim because he's been real busy with stuff, and so we sent to him, and he got it up somehow, or maybe an assistant or something. He might be outsourcing to like a call center or something with.
It sounded decent though. I listened to it last time and I thought it sounded pretty nice.
And so last time I went in on AEW pretty hard because we just watched the pay-per-view, and I with the Peacock Network taking over WWE Network, this past Sunday was the last pay-per-view that was on the WWE Network. So I decided to check it out. And like most WWE pay-per-views, I made it about 3 matches in and then was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm done.
Okay.
There's just so much about what they do that is just obnoxious, and I don't even know where to begin. So I'm going to let you talk for a second and see how you've been and what's going on wrestling wise with you, if you've watched anything, and I'll start unloading in a second.
Well, I haven't watched anything in a while. We did watch Jerry Lawler match from like the early 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
And that was better than anything we've seen in WWE or AEW in the last, 10 years.
And that was on the Pluto TV.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a classic wrestling channel, like only classic wrestling, or if it's maybe a programming that they have every so often.
It looks like they sometimes do classic wrestling.
I think it's an indie wrestling because I know Defy Wrestling was on that one time, and that's out of Seattle. So anyways, gosh, where do I even start? I'm so sick of just everything about their presentation. Like, I was at the gym yesterday. When you watch WWE on mute, which is, they kind of drive you that way with the commentary, already. But like, if you have it on mute, like they do when you're at the gym and you're just reading the subtitles, or you're just seeing their actions, you don't even need the subtitles to know what they're doing. They've done such a great job of turning their product into what like WWE, like Raw versus SmackDown 2011 for PlayStation 3. Like, it looks just like that, where they'd come out, they'd pantomime some shit, and then someone would come out and they'd do more and point to signs and never really change their expression, or every time they come out they do the exact same gesture or
incantations.
Yeah, the happy hands kind of stuff. But I'm watching this show on mute, essentially. I have my headphones in, I'm watching, and it's Asuka and Peyton Royce having a match on Raw. I think it was for the title, the women's championship. And it's just not to fail. Every single match, they have to have a near fall where the person pops up and they look in shock.
Surprised.
They're so shocked.
They put their hands to their head.
Some of them do that, or they do the. It's always the wide-eyed, mouth agape. Camera zooms in, and then it's like we're supposed to act shocked with them, and yet they don't. It's not shocking because it happens in every match. It happens every match.
Yes.
And no one points that crap out, and it's little things like that they're told to do. They're taught to do that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we need to get the reaction shot. We need to get that reaction shot in there. And it's the same thing like when someone comes walking out. Rhea Ripley came walking out after that match, making her debut on Raw or whatever. And she comes walking out, and she stands there and kind of like smirks and looks both ways. She stops at the top of the ramp. She's looking both ways, smirking. Mm-hmm. And she does her like flaily arms, throw her leg in the air and stomp down, and then like pull her vest out and like do like a pose and a grin, and then walk down.
I hate it.
And I hate that shit.
I hate it.
Every single wrestler has to fucking do that now.
Every single one of them, even if they're a jobber.
Every single one. They come out to the top of the ramp, they do something where they do like a little pose, like the video games, and then they walk down to the ring, and they get up onto the apron, and then they do some other sort of thing, other pose, a hand gesture, whatever, and it's
which
just
is fine.
So
they get
obnoxious.
it because it's like, well, the Undertaker does it.
It's so unnatural.
Yeah, and
the
Shawn
Undertaker
Michaels
was the Undertaker.
Yeah, and Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels, and Rey Mysterio is Rey Mysterio. So they do it as if they're stars. So it's like,
but it's a pose. It was not multiple poses happening in your entrance.
Right.
Like, it did it like, there's just nothing natural. There was something natural about Shawn Michaels going and doing his little like boy toy arm, pose, flex pose.
Because he's arrogant.
Because he's arrogant and that's just what he did. There's a thing where Ric Flair does his little strut or whatever and woos the crowd. That's his character. All these people are taught in their training sessions to fucking have poses and, okay, now you got to work on your entrance pose.
Yeah. It's part of their training. What do you do when you come out? What do you do on stage?
Got to think of something. I'm sure some of these people have sleepless nights trying to think of what their gesture is going to be when they come walking out to the fucking ring.
You know who's the best is? When you see him on stage, Walter.
Yeah.
He just stands there, hands behind his back.
And then he walks the ring with his hands behind his back.
Yeah. Excellent.
Not enough flair, pal.
Yeah. Yeah. Only what Walter does translates. It's like, who Walter is based on how he comes to the ring. Whereas everybody else, it's like, oh, I don't know, or do they do triple moonsault, half gainer twists, it's like everybody does these outlandish antics.
And they all do the near fall shock. Like every pay-per-view, every major show, AEW, WWE, both do the near fall shock as if that's that's production value. Yeah. And what it is it's just a trope that's overdone. It's the equivalent of the girl running up the stairs in a scary movie. Like, quit doing it. Like, we've seen it every fucking time.
There's no way out when you run up the stairs.
The reason why the Undertaker, the Undertaker looking shocked after Shawn Michaels kicked out of the tombstone at WrestleMania 25.
It was the second tombstone.
Well, it was he had done the arms crossed, he'd done the hair back, tongue out, which was always the signal to everyone that the match was over.
And nobody ever kicked out when he was doing that.
While he was doing that.
Yes.
So that meant something. But when you do it every single time, when you're in a match and you do the shocked, I can't believe they kicked out look, as if that is a signal that you're having a good match. It's a signal in WWE that they're having a good match. Meaning, like, in WWE eyes, in their realm of where they say Randy Orton and Edge are going to have the greatest match of all time, that's the sign of them is like, well, they're going to have a great match because they're going to do the near fall. Don't forget your near fall spot. And it's just so unnatural. I get it. I say it every time I do one of these episodes. I get it. It's fake. It's phony baloney. It's bullshit. Why are you worrying about that sort of stuff? But it's the whole, if you're going to see a magic show, like, don't you want to like see the trick, see them pull off the trick and not sit there and go, dude, I can see the fucking, the scarf's falling out of your pocket already. Like, you look like an asshole. They all look like assholes out there.
It's like watching Game of Thrones and you see the coffee cup from Starbucks or whatever company was sitting on in front of that bitch's desk. Right. It's like, okay, well, you've completely taken me out of the show.
Yeah.
By putting that on camera.
Yeah. What?
It's not. That's the thing. It's like people were like, "Well, wrestling's fake." It's like, yeah, anything's fake. All the movies you watch are fake. All the shows you watch are fake. Right. It doesn't mean that they stop in the middle of it to tell you that it's fake.
Right. Or have a song and dance or something.
Yeah, that completely takes you out of it.
What else takes you out is the verbiage. the words they use.
The unnatural.
I'm trying to watch this show, and it's just the most unnatural talking. It literally is. It's like it's a script. It's like the commentary is scripted, and like I've never watched a sporting event where that feels that way, where it feels like this guy's reading it. Like, when in a sports, when you're watching a game or a match or whatever, in sports, and they have the announcers and they're like reading a plug for their TV show, like, coming up on an all new girl, Jess gets locked in the closet and Nick can't do his laundry on an all new girl. 3rd and 4, the Giants are trying to get down into Washington's red zone. And it's like, you could tell when they're reading it. When it's WWE, they're always sound like they're reading something. Yeah. They're always saying just like, diarrhea, like it's like they have diarrhea in the mouth, like they just like it's awful. I opportunity. If you have to hear opportunity one more time,
WWE Championship opportunity this Sunday in this very ring.
They also, for wrestler, the complete lazy, like, video game style of booking that WWE has. They had a spot on the pay-per-view where it was supposed to be Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman. Okay, big. Why is Shane McMahon wrestling? I had a friend point this out to me. I would have never guessed. Shane McMahon is as old right now as Gerald Briscoe was during the Attitude Era, 1998, 1999.
Really?
Shane McMahon is as old now as Gerald. And remember how fucking old Gerald Briscoe felt back then?
He seemed very old.
Yeah.
Very curmudgeon-y.
Right. And Shane McMahon is still one of the main characters on the TV show.
What is he, 51?
52? I think he's 52.
Well, that's about how old Mr. McMahon was when he
started. Or no, I think he's 51, because I think he's born in 70.
Okay. Well, still, that's about how old Mr. McMahon was when he started doing the whole Mr. McMahon.
Right. And he felt fucking like old. He'd been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Shane is now having a feud with Braun Strowman for God knows why. Like,
who cares?
Who cares? But Elias came to Shane, and Elias has been trying to do something with Bad Bunny since Bad Bunny is going to be a part of WrestleMania.
Oh, and they're musicians.
Yes, so it makes sense. He wants to do a concert, and it's going to be the greatest concert of all time because, Elias is tired gimmick that he's been doing for his entire
years. Elias has been doing this thing.
And so it's like, for one, it's like you're showing how stupid your character is, because whenever you say you're going to play a concert, you never even play a full fucking song.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, like, you're not any good. Like, you're not a real artist. Like, this whole idea of
it's like, remember when The Rock did it?
Right. Well, that was funny though.
Yeah, it was funny. And The Rock, and also The Rock has incredible charisma.
Right. And Elias just is a guy who kind of knows how to play guitar.
Yeah.
And goes out there to get heat by talking shit to the fans. But what really, really annoyed me and got me
it's not really heat.
Got me to turn the fucking show off was Elias going, Shane, it's my dream. It's always been my dream since I got in this business to be at WrestleMania. And Elias has been involved in WrestleMania the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So why, like, that makes no sense. He's been involved in WrestleMania. So that argument that it's been my dream to be involved in WrestleMania, as if you've never, you use verbiage, you use dialogue like that for someone who's never been involved before. Yeah, you don't use it for someone who's been involved in the exact same fucking thing every time. It's always been a concert with Elias, or Elias comes out and interrupts John Cena to do a concert, and then he gets his ass kicked. That's what he does every year at WrestleMania. He's going to do it again this year at WrestleMania. But
it's always
annoys
like
me. That annoys me.
It's a respawn.
But it also annoys. Yeah, it's exactly. It's It's the memory of a goldfish. It's like it means that everything that happened before didn't matter. So if everything that happened before didn't matter, then why should we care now? Also, Elias. That's all they call him now. Elias. Just like the United States champion is Riddle.
Ugh.
You know how obnoxious one-named wrestlers are to me? That's the thing I've hated since I was a child. Like, I get it, like, if there was one, like, Sting, that's different.
Yeah, or Walter.
Or even Walter, even that one, it's like,
But at least it makes it, at least when you watch his matches, it makes sense.
It's like, fine, because it's in a weird way, it's like, it's not even a name. It's like weird.
He's
it's like
the
Vader.
Bono of...
It's like, but it's like Vader. Think of like how Vader was Vader. It's like Walter's Walter. Like, it's like that, okay. Yeah. But like...
I guess it's like having the name like,
but it's like
Chris.
But it's like Riddle, like these idiots who are like, hey, my name's Riddle. We're going to start calling you Riddle now. Instead of, we're going to drop the mat, we're going to call you Riddle. And it's like, yeah, because I loved it when we had WWF champion Austin and Hulk or Hogan. WWE champion Hogan.
Yeah.
It's like
San Martino.
Is like, no, they're
Rogers.
People.
Remember Rogers?
Buddy. No, just WWE champion Buddy.
Buddy.
Yeah, I like that, Buddy.
WWF
like,
champion.
You want to know?
Buddy.
You want to know? When you're on your one-way ticket to Jobtown in the WWE, when they get rid of one of your names.
Yeah,
they always disguise it as if it's something that's going to put the person over, and then it always fucking fails.
Yeah.
Then give me a guy right now, like in WWE, who had a name lopped off and then became the world champion, and everyone like loved him. Like Batista debuted as Batista, but they would still call him Dave Batista.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
No, there hasn't been anybody.
Because he didn't come out as Dave Batista, and then they lop off Batista or Dave, and then Vince refuses to let anyone say that. Like Riddle is literally coming out to the ring and he just says Riddle, and no one calls him Matt Riddle. They they just call him Riddle. Same thing with like Cesaro or Sheamus. Like Sheamus didn't have a full name. Yeah. Well, I think he would.
But it's like, why do it? Why do it? Because you can call him. You can at least call him Matt Riddle and introduce him as Matt Riddle and have the announcers refer to him as Riddle during the match.
Well, that's what you do in sports anyways.
Yeah,
when you call him by their last name always. But like,
Riddle with a German suplex.
But it's the same thing. Remember when Pac was in WWE and he was Adrian Neville, and they got rid of Adrian and he just became Neville, and it's like, that's just
terrible. That's my sister's name.
But okay,
and my teenage sister's name is Neville. It just sounds like it's wimpy.
It's just like this thing where it's like you or Andrade Cien Almas was Andrade. They just dropped it. They dropped his last name and just made him Andrade.
Yeah,
and it's like that never works for anyone. That never works for anyone.
For anyone ever.
They didn't drop the John and just call him Cena.
No,
and all of a sudden he became the big thing. He was John Cena because he's an actual person. You know, like even CM Punk, like that's not a real name; it's a nickname, but it still sounds like a name. CM Punk, like it's a name. You know what I'm saying? Like
there's syllables. It's
like,
just
like even with the Miz, the Miz is his nickname, but that's what he wrestles under, the Miz. Like, but everyone knows his name is Mike Mizanin. They don't have to call him that because it's just like The Rock. You don't have to call The Rock his. You know what I mean? There's a difference. The Miz didn't start as Mike Mizanin. Where did
they start in this? I remember they did it with who did they do it with? But Buddy.
Oh, Buddy Murphy.
Buddy Murphy, yes.
Yeah, they started calling him Murphy.
It was like, why? But where'd they get that from? There's never been anybody in the last 20 years.
Well, it's like, call him Corbin, call it McIntyre, or you know what I mean? Lashley, like these ideas of like getting rid of the name for whatever reason.
But they're not doing it with Bobby Lashley.
Well, right, no, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of times, a guy is not going to be successful in WWE when you lop off his name like that. That's a sign that you're dead weight. Yeah. You're done.
Jobtown.
Like Randy, they never lopped off Randy Orton's name. They never said, we're getting rid of Randy. We're going to call you Orton from now on.
Yeah.
They never did that because they were always going to use him. Oh, Antonio Cesaro. No, we're just going to call you Cesaro now. And Cesaro has been in purgatory ever since.
For a decade.
Braun Strowman. They've never, I mean, come on, Strowman, that works. But they call him Braun Strowman still because they want to work with him. They're going to use him. They're just obnoxious. You have these guys that you essentially just make them jobbers, and you call them by one name, and it just doesn't make any sense because these people. Well, Madonna's got one name. That was a stage name, and not all these people came in with that.
Yeah, and none of these people are at that level.
And none of these people are at that level. Exactly. Like it's one thing. It's one thing if you're someone like The Miz, whose whole gimmick is to be a Hollywood star guy like The Rock. So he's gonna call himself The Miz, and that's a way to get cheap, like, heat on you. But you drop, the Adrian, and you just go by Neville. It's like, it just sounds dumb. It's just dumb. And I hate it. I hate it. And it's the thing that they fucking do there. And it's like, they don't do that. You notice that none of that happens in NXT. It's all once they get up to Raw. It's like Vince, for whatever reason, Vince just as a way to not have to push people or a way to chop the knees out of whatever. Like he cuts names out. It doesn't make any sense to me, but never will. And it's really a detriment to their show, just like it's a detriment to the show when he has them call their show the matches, Yeah. Like, remember that period when NXT was really good? There was that period
2 years ago.
There was a good 2-year period, 2.5-year period where NXT was very, very good. Yep. And Mauro Ranallo was the announcer, and it felt like you were watching. It
was the best promotion,
exciting, especially the takeover events. The takeover events in front of a sold out arena of rabid fans, with the announcer making it feel like it was a sporting event. Mm-hmm. So where you get sucked into matches and you could believe in people and believe in what they were doing. And then eventually they got rid of Morrow. They got put on USA, and then all kind of had the tinkering happening. It's just, it's unsavable, unsalvageable.
It's unsalvageable, yeah. And that's what I said about, if somebody was going to take over, control the company, it's it's got all this disgusting shit attached to it, to where you couldn't even carry the name.
Oh, no, that's not true. Come on. No, it's not true at all. It's the WWE. It's the biggest brand. It's the biggest brand out there. If someone else took over it wouldn't take that much work to fix everything that they got going on there. It's not that hard at all. Look at all the resources they have. They have everything. They own everything. It would not be hard at all to change everything about what they do. But you have two guys in charge, Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon, who make it look the way it looks. If you listen to anyone talk about Kevin Dunn, who's the director, essentially he's the director of the program, Mm-hmm. And so Vince calls the shots of what's happening on the camera, but Kevin Dunn calls the shots of what's being shown on camera and the way the cameras, all of it, the whole production. And Kevin Dunn is just one of those McMahon style lackeys who, hates pro wrestling and assumes that the WWE basically has convinced himself that the WWE isn't professional wrestling. So then that way he can feel better about himself for being who he is.
A carny.
A guy who tapes the carnival and puts it on television. Yeah. So if you got rid of him and you got rid of Vince, or if Vince was gone and someone came in and took over, the first thing I'd do is I'd get rid of Kevin Dunn. Yes. If I got to take over, are you asking me?
Yes.
I get rid of Kevin Dunn, and I would hire the guy who used to do HBO boxing.
Okay.
HBO Sports kind of folded, and they don't do boxing anymore. And HBO boxing was the best presentation of boxing, in my opinion, and of really any kind of combat sports. I just love the way that they treated it. It felt very regal and special. And who knows if that guy's a job or not?
Prestigious,
yes. But if that guy's a job or not, you're the WWE. You have infinite amounts of money coming in, right? So you could, in this world, I could hire that guy if I wanted to. So I would hire that guy.
No.
And then when it comes to commentators, I'd axe all of them. All of them. Byron Saxton, Corey Graves, Michael Cole.
Yes.
Gone.
Yes.
Tom Phillips, gone.
Yes.
Samoa Joe, maybe, but I wouldn't. See, that's the thing. I would also get someone like Samoa Joe out of there only because his name is Samoa Joe. That doesn't sound like an announcer.
Fat Sam.
Right? Like, right? Like,
my name is Fat Sam.
Oh, hi, I'm Craig Davids, and I'm joined by Fat Sam. Fat Sam, how you doing tonight? Like,
Let him know Large Marge sent you.
I don't mind the idea of having like he's like a Jesse the Body Ventura, like a character in there, or Bobby Heenan. That's kind of who I would try to find. I would try to find someone like that. And honestly, if the person's not going to wrestle anymore, what I would do is I would get CM Punk and be like, CM Punk, would you want to be the color commentator, like the Jesse Ventura?
Yeah, there you go.
If you're not going to wrestle again,
yeah,
and just see what he would say. He probably would say no, but if you know what I mean?
It's money. It's just nobody's gonna say no when you put the right amount of money
right
on the line.
And then as it goes for like the play-by-play guy. Instinct tells me I would try to get Mauro Ranallo back in there if he wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
just only because that's the only guy I can think of on the top of my head that made it feel like a sport.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there that's a sportscaster that would be pretty good.
Yeah.
But I would do it. So I would, and then I would make them. I would get rid of all like the extra bells and whistles of a lot of the shit, and I would have them treat it like it's an actual sporting event. I would start keeping main guys off of TV for the most part. I would make it very very scarce to see any of them.
Yeah, and
then that way you could build up undercard guys like the UFC does when they give away their shit for free. It's usually people who are on their way up. And then sometimes they throw a major star in there and then it goes, oh shit. And it makes you on your toes to pay attention to what's going on with their product. I would install weight classes. I think I've mentioned that before. I install weight classes because you have guys in their developmental system that could be main event type draws, but it's not believable to see Roman Reigns and Adam Cole have a match.
Right.
So if you have them in separate weight classes, it shouldn't ever extend, especially since it's fake, it should never diminish.
And then you can build each one of those weight classes separately.
Yeah.
So you can make a light heavyweight championship as important as the heavyweight championship.
Of course. Just like they made the women's championship with Ronda Rousey and stuff, the main event of WrestleMania, you know, like you can make there's no rule that says the WWE Cruiserweight title has to be a match that has floppy guys in it. You could have a technical style, you know, like a Pete Dunne style match.
Yeah. And
you can make that a belt that's a main event caliber thing. And then that way you could eliminate one of the, you know, there's the Universal title and there's the WWE title. You could just eliminate and just have the WWE Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Then you have a tag team division that's almost like a whole other rule set. You have the holding on to the tag rope. I would enforce that the tag teams come in and try to break up double team attempts that the bad guys are trying to do. So then the referee is distracted, and then it's believable that the bad guys are cheating.
Right.
Is the whole point?
Is there a 5 count rule?
To get out of the ring?
Yes.
I mean, yeah. But that's how they manipulate it by going like, you all right? That's how they manipulate it by they tag in and they start to abuse the 5 rule by teaming up. The good guy comes in to try to break up the shit, and the referee gets distracted, and now he's not counting anymore. And the other guys are cheating, and that's
pretty standard like.
But nowadays, the double team maneuvers they don't take into the account like making it work. They just do them.
Yeah.
So then by doing them, then you have a guy who's just like standing there on the other side watching his teammate getting double teamed. But if you're a team and then we're supposed to buy that you guys are like partners, you're going to defend someone. Like if you're in a sporting event and your teammate gets fucking jacked up by the other team, hopefully they're going to come and fucking save you.
Yeah.
But
they pick and choose. Like sometimes they'll get in the ring and break up the count, and then other times they'll just sit there and watch
the near fall.
And that's what happened in that Tully Blanchard match that happened, that 6-man tag.
But that happens in every.
Yeah, somebody clubbed the baby face in the back of the head with a weapon, and then there was they went down for the pin, and nobody on the babyface team. The two guys were standing there on the apron. Neither of them came in to break up the count after that heel tactic, which was somebody being beat over the head with something, a foreign object. So it was like, but you were all just doing like a tornado tag,
right?
45 seconds ago. So why all of a sudden can you not get in the ring and break up that count?
Right. It's the same thing that happened when we were watching the AEW pay-per-view and Jericho, the Young Bucks. There was an invisible wall. Like the Jericho and MJF were double teaming one of the Young Bucks, and there was an invisible wall, like he couldn't run across the ring and stop him.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that happens in every single match. And it's like, well, why? Well, it's the heat spot. That's what's supposed to happen. Well, the reason why it was the heat spot was because they were cheating. And the reason why they were cheating was because they weren't supposed to be doing a double team move. Like, and so since it was happening behind the ref's back, the crowds would get pissed off. Like, I don't get how it's so hard to compute that or even think about that. But anyways, I would enforce that shit and whatever. But anyways, WWE, it's just, are we going to watch WrestleMania?
Yes.
We are.
I want to watch WrestleMania very badly.
Really?
Yes.
April 10th and 11th, I believe.
I want to shit and piss all over it.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll have to find a way. We'll have to find a way to watch. I guess it's on Peacock, so we'll just have to get Peacock. All right. So, anything else you want to say, or
no, I don't want to say anything else.
All right, yeah, let's get this fucking thing over with. Thanks for being on Rutherford Rants Wrestling this week, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm glad to be on here.
Well, I'd like you to be on there more often. It just, for the naming's sake, it sounds better if it's Rutherford Rants Wrestling. But
audibly it sounds good. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you like what you heard or whatnot, you can email us at brute.n.fruit@gmail.com. You can hit us up on our Facebook page or whatever if you want to talk about any topics or not. Our regular show should be back to normal hopefully soon if our producer ever reappears.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get that surprise bachelor party for him.
Oh boy. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night, everybody.